steps from the Capitol in Cheyenne with reporters in your hometown. These are the top stories from the Cowboy State Daily News Center.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, January 19th. I'm Mac Watson. As federal subsidies phase out for new wind energy projects, wind developers and opponents are regrouping. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that in Wyoming and Nebraska, residents against large-scale developments say the fight has just begun.
I spoke to national experts looking at the wind market, looking at this post-subsidy world for wind and solar where there's no longer going to be new federal subsidies for those two sectors of energy, but it's really moving, the industry is moving into a new space. And so we got some analysis on what that means. Can they compete in the marketplace for different power? Those backing wind would say, yes, we can, because we can get new generation to market faster than other methods. That it takes maybe 4 years to build a natural gas plant, we can be up in 1 or 2 years generating electricity.
After 33 years of federal tax support, this corner of the energy sector remains in transition, which U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright made clear in December when he told Cowboy State Daily, "We cleaned out a ton of subsidies, over $500 billion of energy subsidies." The 94-yard-long underground wine cellar at the Brush Creek Ranch in Carbon County has over 30,000 bottles of wine and is the fourth largest private collection in the United States. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that it is some of the rarest bottles of wine anywhere in the world.
Bruce White started Brush Creek Ranch, and he started this wine cellar, and it is the fourth largest in the U.S. Private collection is the seventh largest in the world. It's a 94-yard tunnel, 30,000 bottles of wine down there. One of the bottles of wine is a $34,000 bottle of wine. It's like a Wizard of Oz experience, and I have to admit, when I went and did the wine cellar tour, it is a magical experience. They have secret rooms down there. You push a panel to the right of the secret painting and a door slides open, and inside is this glowing walled speakeasy, and each of these little windows has a different bottle of a different spirit in it.
Big wines are a feature of this collection in part because they age so well. The late Bruce White's collection includes many bottles in the 6 to 9 liter range. The largest bottle in the collection is an ultra-rare 27-liter bottle of Gigantor 2016. State Representative Daniel Singh left the Wyoming Freedom Caucus last month. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Singh says he wants to emphasize his independence, but still believes in the Freedom Caucus's mission.
Daniel Singh has always been a little different from the Freedom Caucus majority, a little more libertarian-leaning. I asked him, why are you leaving? And he said, look, it's about emphasizing that I'm independent. He said that no one in the Freedom Caucus told him how to vote, that they're not as groupthink as has been alleged in some news outlets, but that he wanted to reassure his constituents of his staunch independence. He does deviate from them once in a while, like when Freedom Caucus members voted to ban lab-grown meat. Singh was a nay there. And so, yeah, there's minor deviations, but he said it's really just about reasserting his independence.
The Wyoming Freedom Caucus is a group of socially conservative Republican lawmakers in the state House of Representatives. Its supporters cast it as the true voice of the state's political right, while its detractors cast it as a source of clumsy legislation fueled by groupthink. A Casper father continues to grieve the death of a son he says would still be alive if only someone close to him had called 911. Cowboy State Daily's Zach Sontag reports that a legislator from Casper is introducing a bill that would make it a crime for bystanders to not call emergency services.
So Steve Harshman is proposing to make bystanders criminally liable if they do not seek help for somebody in an emergency situation. And that is something that could be a misdemeanor charge with penalties of up to $2,000 and 6 months in jail in some cases. Other states have done similar laws. Usually when you see a Good Samaritan law of this sort, it's related more to giving people immunity. So this is moving the Good Samaritan laws in a slightly different direction by trying to encourage people to be more proactive about getting help for people in these emergencies.
In May of 2025, 27-year-old Casper resident Coleman Claney died from a peculiar case of acidosis, which is a condition in which excess body acids result in cardiac or respiratory failure. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
I'm Brady Thornock. I manage my family's ranch here in Uena County. Ranching teaches you to think long-term, and it teaches you that Wyoming stays strong when there's real work here. That's why I'm building a data center on this ranch with a Wyoming company called Prometheus Hyperscale. This project will create thousands of Wyoming jobs, and it will use Wyoming's natural gas resources. We need to build Wyoming. I'm doing this for the future of Wyoming.
Build Wyoming with Prometheus Hyperscale. Go to buildwyoming.com.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. Bueno, a Riverton-based search and rescue dog, is no ordinary canine. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that this incredible dog goes all over the country responding to disasters, but the dog needs a $25,000 surgery to save its life.
Brandy Eggerman said that her dog Bueno needs the surgery because there was some sort of bacterial infection going back maybe a year and a half, 2 years. She thought she had it taken care of. This is when she was living in Virginia. She moved to Wyoming, to Riverton area about a year ago, and she said she started noticing this past Thanksgiving it was coming back on her dog, and in December she said it was like full bore. He could barely walk. So she took him to a vet in Montana, and he's telling her that she's going to need $25,000 for a surgery. What they plan to do is take out a disc and put in some metal in the dog's spinal column, and after that, he should be back at full strength and able to do his job as a cadaver dog.
A friend in the search and rescue community suggested Eggman launch a GoFundMe as a means to raise money, save him, and allow Bueno to work again. As of Sunday, Bueno's GoFundMe is at 52% of its $9,000 goal. Wyoming gun advocates are applauding Thursday's U.S. Department of Justice opinion that says a 1927 law banning the practice of mailing handguns is unconstitutional. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that UW law professor George Moscari says, whoa, hold off on taking that handgun down to the post office to mail it out. It's complicated.
The Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Justice, released an opinion that law, it's unenforceable and it's unconstitutional. Basically, what that might mean is that you might be able to mail a handgun through the U.S. Postal Service like you'd mail any other package. Again, the person I talked to at UW, he's a legal expert. He said, just because the DOJ released its opinion, don't run down to the post office with your Glock and mail it to your uncle just yet, because it's a really complicated gray area of the law. There's a lot to work out. This process is just getting started, but it could have interesting implications.
Historical records indicate that at the time, the law was deemed necessary because the current system of background checks for firearm purchases wasn't in place, Moscari tells Cowboy State Daily. After United Health left Wyoming's ACA health insurance market, Torrington's Roger Huckfelt tried to find a new provider for his 85-year-old mother. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that after weeks of robocalls, hang-ups, and 45 hours on hold, he's still waiting to get Mom an insurance policy.
United Health left Wyoming's Medicare Advantage plan. So what happens then is you get a letter that says you're eligible to switch carriers. You get like a one-time exemption to do this thing. Well, so since they had bought a drug plan, he thought he would not be eligible to get any other plan. He's kind of roped into this one, right? So he's just doing his best to just get through this and get his mom signed up for insurance.
United Health is one of multiple carriers that left Wyoming's Medicare Advantage health insurance marketplace amid rising health care costs, changes to federal policies, and the expiration of federal tax credits. A 91-year-old Nebraska woman thought her rare 30-gallon-old Red Wing crock might sell at a garage sale for about $20. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that instead, a local auctioneer spotted the treasure and sold it for her for $32,000.
The last person in the room to keep bidding stopped at $19,000. And this buyer, who interrupted a pheasant hunt, he's an anonymous buyer, but we're told by our sources that he was in the middle of a pheasant hunt, bid this thing up to $32,000. You have to be a collector to understand the passion and love for Red Wing pottery. There's only maybe 5 of these left, according to the experts I spoke to. And so that's why this anonymous collector was willing to fork out $32,000.
The crock was shaped by clay pulled from the earth around Red Wing, Minnesota, and fired in a massive kiln sometime in the late 1800s. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel, or you can listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.